Hi guys, Jester Bell is here with the promised Superman video. Now, believe it or not, it was a couple months ago that I told my patrons that I wasn't even going to talk about Superman on here anymore because of just how intense the conversations about Superman are. But I figure if I'm going to just, say whatever I'm going to say about Marvel, I need to do the same about Superman. But anyway, that said, I want to just preface this with Superman conversations are very intense and passionate because people feel very strongly about the character. They, whether that manifests in positive conversation or negative conversation, it's really rough when you're talking about Superman at all, because if you like whatever is going on with Superman, then you're probably gonna get lambasted by the people who don't like what's going on with Superman. And if you don't like it, then you're gonna be lambasted by the people who do like it. So that kind of kept me away from the conversation for a while, but I think now is a good time of any to talk about the real red flags that have been happening with the Superman movie behind the scenes. Basically, that trouble is probably brewing with this movie. And once again, I want to just say to any of you out there that you are really looking forward to this movie, you have high hopes for it. I wish nothing but the best for you, because I understand that this is a character that means a lot to you. So, what I basically want to talk about in this video is the red flags again with the Superman movie and why it might be DOA, not as a movie, not saying that it's DOA as a movie, but that the idea that Superman is going to be the reinvigorating force that brings everyone back to DC, brings success back to DC, is the thing that is going to springboard a universe. I think that dream is officially dead. So let's talk about this now. Now, James Gunn's Superman, as it's known as, had a trailer out since December. And then they completely skipped out on any sort of advertising for the Super Bowl other than this weird Puppy Bowl thing. They released a clip with the Minecraft movie of just the dog messing around with Superman, and then a little bit of a jokey thing with the robots. And it didn't really light a fire on anybody about this movie. And here we are now in May, 2 months before the movie's supposed to release, and we still don't have an official trailer. As James Gunn has confirmed, we've only seen a teaser. We've not seen an official trailer that reveals any elements of the story yet. And it's very odd that we are starting this late in the game. Like, Fantastic Four releases 2 weeks after Superman, but it already had its first full trailer and a lot more marketing. Like, where is the Barbie level marketing for this movie that we were promised? And if you know what Barbie was, then you know what that marketing was. Ever since they released a teaser for Barbie, Barbie kind of became a lifestyle brand again. They had aesthetics everywhere, big standees. There was an entire hotel dedicated to Barbie, an Airbnb dedicated to Barbie, merchandise everywhere, an app that you could engage and put yourself in as Barbie. And obviously, it got even bigger when the fans really responded to that. Margot Robbie came out in outfits themed like Barbie. Even though she was the producer of the film, she was also the lead star, and it was very much on her being Barbie and looking like Barbie. So the Barbie marketing was kind of just constant hype and pushing this whole vibe and aesthetic, and it became a lifestyle. There was Barbie ice creams, donuts, all kinds of stuff. The Barbie movie had a bigger marketing budget than it did a production budget. I mean, I would have to go back and confirm that, but they spent a lot on marketing. It was really about pushing the vibe and aesthetic, and they kind of recreated that a little bit for the Wicked movie. So when you say that Superman is going to have a Barbie-like marketing campaign, you think this thing is going to be everywhere. They're going to make it feel like a lifestyle somehow. I don't know if you can really do that with Superman in the way that you can do with the Barbie aesthetic, but they haven't done that with Superman. And Barbie was also, highly dependent on nostalgia and people recreating being kids, playing with toys. And that's just not been there for Superman. And I suppose that you could do it now, couple months before. We might not even get a trailer till the end of the month, which is going to be like a month and 2 weeks before. But it's kind of late in the game to start a real big hype campaign. Like, why are you guys starting so late? Most of the marketing so far, apart from that first teaser, has been centered on James Gunn. They recently released a featurette, and again, there was not a lot of fanfare for this thing, and the entire thing was on James Gunn.
James, in his stories, he does it with heart. scripts are so unique, his stories, they're heartfelt.
And they also did a CinemaCon panel, and obviously I wasn't at CinemaCon, but the people who were there said that the entire panel was centered around James Gunn. James Gunn was the guy who was seen at the Puppy Bowl thing. He was doing something there. And it's like this entire marketing campaign for Superman has been centered around that this is James Gunn's Superman and he is directing it. And I'm not going to make this into a criticism piece on James Gunn. You know that I have a lot of problems with him. In fact, I've lost all respect for him, actually. That's not what this video is about. But it is about this fact that this is one of the fears coming true of having the creative be the CEO. That now he's decided that the main thrust of the marketing, at least as we've seen it, is going to be about he's the one directing the movie. And we've seen, and James Gunn's ego is on a lot of stuff. We saw him get a variant cover with himself and David Corenswet. And it's like, could it just have been of David Corenswet? No, it has to be David Corenswet and James Gunn. When he was doing Creature Commandos, he had himself in the intro looking proud of the work that he has written. Like, DC has very much been the James Gunn show. And apart from Superman and Supergirl, which he apparently is making very much his own, it's been all of his stuff that he finds interesting and all of that. And I'm like, setting aside how I feel about James Gunn as a person, which are not very positive thoughts, it's like, but is this a good marketing campaign? Because, like, you did this for the Suicide Squad, where it was all about the fact that James Gunn was directing this movie, even less so. And that didn't sell that movie. And even if you blame COVID on that, which I don't think you can, it made about the same amount as the other DC movies, then there's still no proof that marketing a movie solely on James Gunn is going to sell it. Like, I want to hear, like, why did you cast, like, more about David Corenswet, more about Rachel Brosnahan. You said that she had the best audition out of anyone. Like, I want to hear more about that. I want to hear you hype up David Corenswet more. I don't want to hear them hype you up, James Gunn, which is apparently what they did at the CinemaCon panel. But anyway, so it's all been James Gunn-centric, and it hasn't really drummed up the hype for this movie. And I'm just not feeling it, you guys. And it's really regardless of how I feel about the movie. Like, if I was not hyped for a movie and everyone else was, then it would be inescapable for me. So there's just not a lot of hype for the movie, but then comes what we're hearing behind the scenes. Now, there were some very credible leaks for the film, and I am not going to spoil the entire movie or anything. I'm just going to tell you what about the leaks are relevant to the hype and why hype has kind of been killed for the movie in some areas. So the leaks for this film don't sound great, and the leaks of the reactions we've heard from the movie don't sound great. I'm not going to go through the plot again. I'll just say that the plot, when I read it, was very lackluster, very mid. It's kind of the same thing with Thunderbolts, and just the fact that this movie is not reinventing the wheel or anything, even if it's better than other things that have come before. And it's not really bringing me back after being spurned so much. So the Superman movie sounded very mid. It sounded like it was taking a lot of risks. And that can be a good thing, but the problem with taking a risk is that it can fall flat on its face. So the risk that I'm talking about is apparently there is a 10-minute sequence in the film of Superman and Lois just talking about what it means to be a hero. A whole 10-minute sequence. Now, I have seen movies where actors and characters just nail dialogues and monologues, and it can be the best part of the film. I have no idea if it won't wind up being the best part of this film, but it sounds like a major risk when this is the first movie of your franchise, and a monologue it just seems like it's something that could easily fall apart this early on in the film and lose people. And then the other things that we're hearing from test screenings is that there's a lot of James Gunn-isms in this film. They say that the Justice Society in this movie is basically just the Guardians of the Galaxy, which makes sense because James Gunn always has to put Guardians of the Galaxy in everything. They say that in the film, and apparently this is a minor point, but in the film there is a misinformation campaign against Superman, and apparently part of that includes people writing mean comments against Superman on the internet, and then Superman later discovers that it's actually a bot farm from some mutant monkeys that Lex Luthor made up to try to take him down through the internet. Now, we hear that this is played up more for a joke and that it's brief in the film and it's just a part of it. People have already noted that this sounds like James Gunn self-inserting a bit with his own internet troubles and internet arguments and getting canceled on the internet for things that he's said. So that was really a red flag that did not go over well online. And we're also hearing, and this is the most major spoiler on it, but apparently, the reason why they find Superman at one point in the film is because Jimmy Olsen has been, quote unquote, sexting one of Lex Luthor's girlfriends, and now he has access to information because of that. And that sounds just so James Gunn, and it's been said from multiple sources, and it's a major part of the film. Like, that's majorly how they find out some information in the film. So those are the rumors that we're hearing about it, that it's just sort of mid-script with a lot of James Gunn-isms in it. Like, definitely he comes off in the film. And what we're hearing about the test screen reactions is that it's consistently been mixed. Like what I said in the beginning, Superman is a character that a lot of people have very strong feelings about. So there's been some people who love this film, hate this film, indifferent, think it's fine. Just all across the board, these reactions to the Superman film behind the scenes because of what it is. Now, saying that this is polarizing is, of course, not me saying that everyone's going to hate it or anything. Polarizing means polarizing. It's like not everyone is going to be on board with it, it sounds like. So that's where it comes into my main point in this video, back to the marketing, is now because we have seen signs of WB reacting to that polarization from the Superman film, that the Sergeant Rock movie that James Gunn was developing is kind of on ice right now. They say it's might be canceled, maybe it's not canceled, but basically all the projects that he announced in development, all of that is on ice. All they have is Peacemaker, which was already done, and Supergirl. And so that's a sign to me that DC is not trusting, perhaps, that this movie is going to go the distance. And the other evidence of that is the lack of marketing. Because sometimes I've seen that before, like, for example, Disney's Strange World, where it seems like there's less marketing around a film if the company is not as confident in it. Or maybe they just really want to zero in on the weeks leading up to the film to make sure that it's money well spent because they know the risk behind this film. But anyway, that's what I've got right now. It's like the Superman movie, perhaps there was just too much writing on it. Because, like, if you put out just a fine film, mediocre film, that's one thing. But a Superman movie was supposed to make up for, like, all of the brand damage of DC. And it was supposed to bring people back on board. And maybe that's just unrealistic. Maybe that was just unrealistic expectations. It sounds like it's just not going to do that at the very best right now. But at the very worst, like, this kind of confirms my fear, which was having James Gunn be the director and CEO behind this movie in the first place. I thought James Gunn's style does not fit with Superman. I don't think that he's going to put his ego aside if he is also a CEO of this company. You know, James Gunn said in that interview that he did, the featurette for Superman, that he had to find a way that he finally found a way in to do Superman and make it work. And I'm like, talking about how meaningful the character was to him. And I'm like, that's not what you said before. James Gunn specifically said before he didn't take on Superman when they offered it to him because he wasn't interested in the character. And then when they kept offering it to him, and I would assume as a condition of maybe even him being CEO, that is when he found a way in. So there's a difference between if you don't think that you can do a character properly and then you get an idea versus you're not interested in a character and then you find a way to get interested in the character and try to do it there. It doesn't really bode well when your first reaction to something is, I'm not interested in doing that at all. Gunn is interested in the minor characters of the universe. So that's where we are at right now. And because this movie hasn't come out yet, I don't want to get out my pitchfork and disparage all of James Gunn's dirty laundry and everything that he's done wrong with this film and everything that they have done wrong. But I would like to, condemn a little bit preemptively. Like, these people who did hire James Gunn to do all of this and now are kind of reining him back in a little bit with the projects, they are the same people who originally wanted Todd Phillips, director of Joker 2, who doesn't even like DC. He hates the property, he doesn't like the fans. They wanted him to be the CEO of DC Studios. So that might just tell you what was really going on with the mindset of hiring James Gunn. They just needed anyone to step in. But what I want to say now is, obviously, having not seen the film, I don't have high expectations for it. It might not be, like, who knows? Like, I think that it's going to be a very polarizing film. And I think that it's just not going to reinvigorate the brand of DC and superheroes like they were wanting it to, regardless of how it does. I just think that high bar is not going to happen right now, even if the marketing maybe changes around and gets a little bit better, even if it has a good opening and all of that. I just don't think that it's going to get everyone on board, and I don't think that it was going to. But here's the thing, guys. Would it be so bad if the industry stopped being so dependent on superhero movies? Like if Superman doesn't do particularly brilliantly and neither does Fantastic Four, which looks very likely at this point. Like, I feel for people because the thing that will be worse about this is for the Superman character. If he doesn't have a very successful film, if it just does mid-range or something like that, then they're going to go all the way back into Batman and milk that character to death. But I'm wondering, at some point, does it just get to be like, it's okay, we're not going to define our industry by superhero movies anymore. We don't have to have 3 superhero movies a year. I say this as a superhero movie fan, that it would be really nice to me because Superman was made, in my opinion, kind of rushed. They needed to get James Gunn because they needed someone. They needed someone who had some success with this stuff before do Superman. Even if James Gunn wasn't really interested in it at first, even if his style doesn't fit with the character, it'd be really nice to live in a world where they're not so dependent on these movies doing well, that not only do they look to other things to produce in from Hollywood, but they also leave these characters alone for a little bit and let them ruminate. And they come up with an idea when it's good and they think that they can really market it, not just an idea out or a director out of desperation. That's where I'm at right now. Like, I'm kind of at peace. Like, I understand people who still want to have hope for this film, but with all that I've been reading behind the scenes, I'm kind of at peace. Like, it's okay if Superman is not this runaway success and there's a big new universe starting up. I don't really want to invest in a new DC universe right now. And I think that there's a little bit of a problem with the people behind the scenes is that they lost the glory days. They lost the glory days where you could put out a superhero movie and it would get like $1 billion or $500 million at worst. And they're just constantly trying to recreate the hype of those glory days and translating to box office. And it's like, but people have moved on a little bit. Not that there won't be successes here and there, but at this point, the hype train has been diluted. People are exhausted, and you can't just bring everyone back all of a sudden. Like, I'm not seeing a ton of hype and speculation around Superman apart from the core fans. It's not really getting the zeitgeist out of that. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay to have a break from the superhero train that we've been on for so long now. It happened for a reason. It happened because those early movies were so good, and we expected that from more movies. But it's okay if those days are done for now, and we can get movie here and there. Maybe they do decently, maybe they're just decent productions, and maybe they plan for something bigger in the future, but maybe they just put all of their focus on that one thing and take their time with it versus forcing it out just for some more cash. But that's how I feel about it. And I don't know how you feel about this. I know that, once again, Superman is a conversation that elicits a lot of passion out of people. I know I'll have people yelling at me that I'm being too premature, but at this point, we're getting really close to it, and I'm just not seeing it right now. And I'm not seeing that the executives are showing a lot of faith right now, probably because they're reacting to those middling test screenings. But that's all I got for you guys today. And once again, I want to hear your thoughts on this and your thoughts on the leaks behind the scenes. And if you think that there is still hope for this movie, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time.